Hey there, and welcome to Ask Diane number 18. Super excited having you here, and we are gonna look at three emails and two questions that came in via Facebook today. And as always, before we get started, no medical advice here, just general thoughts and general advice that I hope will be helpful to anyone that is tuning in here. So with that said, let's jump right to our first email, which is from Anne. And this came in 2 days ago. Let me go grab my glasses here. Hello, Daniel. Thank you for all the effort you've put into your podcast and helping those of us with insomnia. Anytime, I want to thank you, Anne, for writing this question. The questions like the ones from you are what make this channel special, really. I feel very fortunate that I found your podcast a few weeks ago, and I've been implementing sleep restriction for about 4 weeks. I've had over 20 years of insomnia and many years of nightly Zoplicone, 3.75 milligrams use, which I have tried to reduce several times over the past few years. I've now been off Zoplicone for a couple of months and started CBTi. Very well done. It's amazing. I've been practicing sleep restriction for just over 4 weeks. I started with 1:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. For those of you who are new to the channel, sleep restriction, which I sometimes call bedtime restriction, and actually nowadays I usually just say sleep window. Anyway, that's a technique where you spend less time in bed, and you typically spend maybe 5.5 or 6 or 6.5, something like that, those many hours in bed. So, and the goal is to have a strong sleep drive, and also to kind of take a psychological step away from trying to sleep, and also to, I feel it's a really good way to build sleep confidence. When you start seeing that you actually do fall asleep pretty easily, you fall back asleep without a struggle, etc. It kind of starts really building your sleep confidence. That's really when the magic starts happening. So anyway, that's why this sleep window technique is so important. So going back to the email, Anne has decided to go to bed at 1:30 and get up at 7 a.m. So she's spending about 5.5 hours in bed. Within a short time, I was falling to sleep within 15 minutes and sleeping 5 to 5.5 hours a night, with a couple of wakings and being able to fall back to sleep. I was feeling pretty good, but was tired and thought a little more sleep might help. So I started a sleep window of 12:30 to 7 a.m. a couple of weeks ago. The last 20 days or so, I go to bed around 1 a.m. I don't seem to feel very sleepy. After 30 minutes or so, I get up and read until 2:30 or 3 a.m. or I stay up to 2:30 or 3 a.m. I can usually fall off at that point. I still get out of bed at 7 a.m. I don't nap and don't think I feel particularly anxious about my sleep anymore, knowing that the real health risks are low and sleep can change night to night. I'm experiencing a more stressful time, but it was still under a fair amount of stress when I started sleep restriction, and things were improving. I often use Headspace, Sleepcast as a distraction, and I fall to sleep about 10 minutes in. I would appreciate any suggestions you might have. It is 2 a.m. and I don't feel sleepy. Thank you, Anna. All right. Firstly, I want to say that it is amazing that you had insomnia for 20 years and you've come off Zopicone for several months. That's not easy. It's very hard to do, and you've done it. That's amazing. And secondly, like you didn't just find my podcast and didn't just kind of listen to it. You actually took action here. That's very, very well done. Well done. And another positive here is that when you started, like just over 4 weeks ago, it sounds like, you were actually falling asleep pretty quickly and sleeping through the night, which was, again, in the light of having 20 years of insomnia, that's really, really encouraging. And now it sounds like, you spent a little bit more time in bed, and since then, it takes a little longer before you fall asleep, etc. So I think, so the question here is, what should I be doing? Well, there was a couple of things I was thinking about. One was, and you probably, having listened to me, you probably already understand this part, but it sounds like, you use Headspace Sleepcast as a distraction. And, as it's worded there, if it's a distraction, it's perfect. It's if the tricky thing here is always like these things called sleep efforts. When we're doing anything with the kind of intent of that making us sleep, then it just brings more attention to the fact that we can't sleep. and makes it less likely for us to sleep. It's kind of a way to avoiding sleeplessness. When we try to avoid something, we get more of it. So sleep efforts are never good. So if you're actually enjoying the sleep casts, you kind of look forward to listening to them, then I think that's perfect. If you're, the thing that, as Nick said, one of my guests recently said, like spidey senses, like the thing that's kind of alerts my spidey senses is just like headspace sleep cast. Like this is something that sounds like it's specifically designed to kind of promote sleep, which then makes me feel like maybe it is a sleep effort. So I would just say, if you look forward to this, if you enjoy these sleep casts, if it's something that you could listen to anytime just for the pure pleasure of it, perfect. If it is to some degree something that you're doing, like, to try to make yourself sleep, then I would say it's better to find a podcast that you enjoy, a book that you enjoy, or even a Netflix show that you enjoy. Do something you enjoy before going to bed. It's really important to look forward. It's so important to look forward to that half hour or that hour before you go to bed. I think that's super important. And other than that, I want to say that whenever, let's take it a step back. Let's talk about like insomnia, kind of like at a core level. And some of you may have heard me say this before, but I think it's super important. I think it never hurts to say this again. Insomnia happens when kind of that part of our brain that is there to keep us safe identifies lack of sleep as a threat. Like, this is a problem, we got to do something about it. And that sends us into the direction of like trying to figure out why it happens, and also into the direction of trying to do things to make us sleep more. Both of them gives insomnia more attention. We sleep less, we kind of try more, we sleep less, etc. That's kind of how insomnia happens. Now, imagine you've had insomnia for 20 years. So this kind of process of like, figuring out what's going on, trying different things, kind of struggling with sleep, have been there for a long time. So it is going to take a significant amount of time before that threat monitor that's been like focused on sleep for such a long time gives that up and like starts realizing that there is no threat there. It's going to take a long time. Now, where I'm going with this is to say that when you kind of started widening your sleep window, you went to bed a little earlier, then even if you don't feel anxious at all, it's very, very possible that there's a little bit of hyperarousal. That threat monitoring system is kind of like a little bit like, what's going on? Should I be doing this? Am I doing it the right way? Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have stayed with a shorter sleep window before. Maybe I'm not doing it right, etc. That can be enough to keep you from sleeping well. So I think, the best thing to do really is, guess what? Everybody's going to be really surprised when I say this. Set it and forget it. Set it and forget it. Of course, it's always the right thing to do. It is. I don't think more tweaking is helpful. I think it's good to have, like, to go to bed maybe around, let's say decide to go to bed not before midnight, but then get up at 7. And other than that, during the day, just try to enjoy life, go whale watching, play the learn to play the trombone or something, like really that you do just for pleasure. That's set it and forget it. And now one thing more I want to add here is that it sounds like you often don't feel very sleepy at bedtime. And I think what's really important, I think the most common kind of confusion with the sleep window technique is that if your sleep window is, let's say, midnight to 7, then it doesn't mean that you should go to bed at midnight. It just means that you shouldn't go to bed before that. So if it's midnight and you're like not feeling sleepy, then just wait, just do something until you feel sleepy. I think a very, very good thing to do is actually which is kind of a variation of using sleep window, is to decide, instead of like having this like, I'm not going to go to bed before midnight and then kind of checking what time it is, etc. A better thing to do could be like, I'm not going to check the time after midnight. I'm not going to go to bed before midnight, but after midnight, I'm just not going to check the time. And if I'm enjoying myself, I'm reading, I'm listening to podcasts, I'll stay up. If I feel sleepy, I go to bed, and not know the time. Make a conscious effort of not knowing the time. I think that's good. But I think the most important thing here to summarize everything, Anne, is you've had a lot of progress, like coming off the medication, having had early success with spending less time in bed. That is really, really, really encouraging. And I say, if you just kind of keep going, keep going, spending kind of maybe just 7 hours or maybe 6 hours, something like that in bed, and then just shift your attention away from sleep, do things you enjoy, etc. I think, it can take time, it can take a long time, but you will, like, the threat monitoring system will become less active, and you will kind of again start sleeping easier, etc. So I think just keep going is kind of the magical, or the most important kind of like thing here. So, and stay in touch. Any questions that pop up, please let us know, and we shall continue on here then. The next email here is actually from Linda. And Linda has asked a couple of really great questions before, and has contributed with a success story. And so here's the thing. Alex from Talking Song number 16, where we talked about like this sudden awareness of falling asleep, like you're about to fall asleep and you're suddenly aware of it, which I'm thinking of actually. Maybe we should call it Hypnic awareness, or Hypnic arousal, Hypnic awareness maybe, because Hypnic jerks are like another jerk. So Hypnic is like when you're about to fall asleep. So maybe Hypnic awareness could be a good word for it. Anyway, so we talked. Alex has asked us. Was it yesterday? He asked me to kind of do this shout out and ask if there has been a success story with kind of not doing anything about this sudden awareness, and then kind of getting past them, meaning not having them frequently, or not reacting to, not worrying about them, not letting them disturb you. So Linda wrote back, and I think I want to thank Linda so much for writing this email. It's very interesting how the discussion with Alex, discussion with Linda, and I forget whose name that was, but it was another person who sent me a couple emails. This sudden awareness thing can seem like it's a pretty common thing, and if you just don't try to figure it out, and like don't try to stop it, and don't do anything, it'll go away. That's kind of like how I summarize it. It has triggered a lot of detailed questions and discussion, and I think Linda, picked up on what I said that could easily be kind of interpreted in a different way, and so I really appreciate this email from Linda. Let's read it. So here we go. Even though I've not emailed in, I've still been listening to your podcast to see if the podcast you did about me would have helped others. I so believe it did. I think that was super, super helpful. I listened to Ask Daniel 18 on Monday, and I was puzzled about a response you gave. In that episode, you explained that not doing anything about sudden awareness, she actually says SA and then sudden awareness for short, LOL, which actually that prompted me to think we should call it something. We could call it SA or Hypnic awareness, whatever we want to call it. Now, not doing anything about, say, in and of itself cannot make you fall asleep, but it keeps you from having hyperarousal, which is really what keeps you from falling asleep. From personal experience, I don't think that I can say that not doing anything with the intent of preventing hyperarousal has worked for me. I think by nature, you're always going to have a little hyperarousal or notice the sudden awareness when it happens, but by not doing anything about them, you limit the amount of attention that they receive. I think every time they happen, you're going to notice them, even if it's just for a split second. I would even argue that it's necessary to temporarily notice them, because if you try to completely tune them out when they happen, you're actively trying to do something. And I think on some level, you're going to notice them when they happen, but the key is not to give them more attention than they subconsciously get. I think telling people that the goal is to pay less attention to them puts pressure on people not to pay attention to them. And that makes them feel like any attention that they receive will prevent them from falling asleep. I think I have a simpler answer to why not doing anything works, but I wanted to run it by you so that I could know if it was a more accurate explanation. In the beginning, every time I had a sudden awareness, SA, I tried to fight it. I tried thinking about other things when it happened. I tried squeezing a stress ball every time it happened. I even tried making my mind blank, but ultimately I could never fall asleep no matter what I tried. I really was stuck in a cycle of beginning to sleep, suddenly recognizing that I was falling asleep, doing something about it, becoming further conscious because I was doing something, beginning to eventually drift off to sleep again, and starting the whole thing over again. Ugh, I was so frustrated. No matter what I did, I could not get past it. Your answer in Ask Daniel 7 broke that cycle. I'm not doing anything about this sudden awareness of falling asleep when it happened, or I guess experiencing it. I was able to finally get past it. Because I was able to get past it, I quickly fell back asleep. I think that is why not doing anything works for anyone who is experiencing this phenomenon. Because by not doing anything about sudden awareness when they happen, you prove to yourself that you're able to get past it when they occur. And because you're able to get past it, you are then able to fall asleep. Is this inaccurate? Question mark. As always, thanks for helping me out. Hopefully, I did not make this email out to make it sound like you weren't right or anything. I think it was just a simpler explanation for why not doing anything works based on personal experience. Then again, I'm not the sleep doctor, so I could be totally wrong or overlooking something. I think this is an amazing answer. And by the way, me being a sleep doctor, to be honest with you, I'm familiar with like basic sleep physiology and hyperarousal, etc. But when it comes to this, I think I was never taught anything about the sudden awarenesses in med school and fellowship and anything. I can't claim to have any expertise when it comes to this thing. But again, understanding of insomnia and hyperarousal definitely helps. So with that said, I think to summarize in my mind what I hear from Linda, which I think is very important, is when you have this sudden awareness of falling asleep, it's important not to do anything active, not try to research them or figure out why they're happening or do something to try to prevent them. Absolutely. And now to clarify kind of the attention thing there, I can see how, if I say try not to give them attention, then if you are kind of actively trying not to give them attention, meaning like, I'm not going to think about them, I'm not going to notice them, that's not going to work, because then you are doing something totally. So I think the key is like not doing anything. I hope this made sense, and I hope this was helpful to Alex and anyone else that is having similar type of questions. So thanks so much, Linda. I really appreciate it. So with that said, we are gonna talk about an email from Vincent. And actually, I was thinking a lot about Vince lately, because I had not gotten an email from Vince for quite a while. And actually, I meant to do this before, but as we are speaking here, I'm going to see if I can pull up kind of an early email from Vince. And let's do that. Let's look at this. Here, sorry, this is taking a little time here. Let's see. I'm looking for like an early email from Vince to kind of compare the the style from what it is now. So actually, here's one. Let's read this one. This is an email from Vincent from November 4th. Recently, I'm having a problem. Before my bedtime, I take Seroquel. Then after 30 minutes of no sleep, I take Ambien. Then after 30 minutes with still no sleep, I take Valium. This has been my habit the last 3 days. It was awesome. I was able to sleep for 3 days straight within 3 to 4 hours. But right now, I haven't been sleeping for 3 days. I don't know if the reason is still researching for more information about CBT, or I'm sleep arousal because I'm trying to accept my thoughts, then challenge my thoughts, or just watch TV, but still I can't fall asleep. Please, can you tell me what's happening to me? Check this email out. We hear about somebody who takes Seroquel and then Ambien and then Valium if they're not able to sleep. Like, talk about like sleep effort, like really trying to sleep, not sleeping for 3 days, really confused, etc. Now compare that to this email that just came in today. And the title, by the way, is just checking in, just trying to check in. So here we go. Daniel, even though I have insomnia, I don't stress about it. I continue to hang out with friends, play basketball, and sometimes we go out and we drink, which lets me fall asleep sometimes 9 to 10 hours. I still follow my sleep window, but lately this past week, I've been waking later than my wake-up time at 5:30 a.m., but I don't stress about it much. I just follow my sleep window the next day. It's been a month and 2 weeks, I think. I followed my sleep window, but some days I didn't. I know I'm supposed to not count the days or question or figure out why this is happening, but I'm still waiting to sleep better. Now when I sleep, I'm half asleep and half awake. What do you think? What should I do? Well, I think firstly, again, like from my perspective, having read a lot of emails from you, Vince, they are completely different. They are very different. The first emails was like almost like desperation, complete confusion. What the heck is going on? Read the tone of this message. I'm not stressing out. I continue. I hang out with my friends. So I think from on one level, you've had a lot of improvement, you know. And what's important here to know is that getting towards a place of good sleep is different from everyone. Going back to what I talked about earlier in this episode about this like threat monitoring system, if someone has a very kind of strong threat monitoring system, like, you know, their defense system, if you will, is very strong, it will take a long time to get to a place of good sleep. If somebody has a defense system, if you will, that's not that active, it will be a quicker process. But where I'm going with this is to say, like, the first sign, the first thing people typically report is that I'm feeling less worried, but I'm not necessarily sleeping that much more. Like I'm feeling less stressed now. I kind of understand insomnia. I'm not so stressed about it, but I'm not sleeping that better. When people tell me that, I'm like, you are on the right path. I'm super encouraged to hear that, because I know that once somebody starts worrying less, better sleep will follow. It will follow. And then kind of the last step is often like people say, I'm sleeping better now, but I'm still kind of tired. That's the last step. Like the fatigue is the last thing to go. So first of all, I just want to point out, Vince, that I think you're doing great. I think you've had a lot of improvement. I just sense it from the emails you're sending. Now, the other thing was like, you know, sometimes I sleep 9 to 10 hours. You know, that's good. Like, I mean, good you're getting that amount of sleep sometimes, but keep in mind that if you sleep a lot sometimes, some nights, then you will sleep less, probably, like, another night, you know, and your sleep window, you're not been falling all the time. I don't think you have to at this point be like super rigid about it, but do know that if your kind of goal is to get up at 5:30, and you get up at, I don't know, 8:30, well, then you probably won't sleep as good the next night. So I think being pretty irregular with that wake up time is always good. You know, you don't have to obsess about it for sure, but being pretty regular about that is always good. But other than that, like you say, like I'm half asleep, half awake. Well, there's still some probably hyperarousal going on there, but I think it's overall getting better. So you may be tired of me saying this, but I say just keep going. Play basketball, hang out with your friends, enjoy your life. You know, maybe be a little bit stricter with kind of like not sleeping in too much during the weekend, and maybe a little bit stricter with kind of waking up at the same time every morning. Other than that, just keep the focus where it's at now. Keep focus on the light. See the light. Go towards the light. Be happy. Enjoy your life, and good things will come. And by the way, I just, as I was looking through my email list, I have a lot of emails from you, Vince. But the last one before, let's check this out. The last one before this, if I Google here, if I check here, Vincent, it was Feb 10. Check this out. The one before this was January 20th. That's like 22 days before this one. That's a long time. And I've seen this pattern before when I've had other people I talked to on the channel, that people were emailing me very frequently, as they were kind of a lot worried, a lot of hyperarousal, a lot of concerns, etc. And then it became a little bit less frequent, and that's a very good sign. That means the hyperarousal, the worry is on its way out, and good sleep will follow. So I'm very encouraged, Vince. You've done a lot. I think this has been a long journey for you, a hard one, but you are doing well. Keep going, and good things will come to you. More good things will come to you, I want to say. All right. So with that said, Jay is actually messaging me kind of live here. So if you're, are you here? Anyway, if you're here, Jay, always nice talking to you. But if not, let me just get to Jay's question here. So Jay has been contributing a lot to the channel, sending us a lot of questions, and a little bit kind of summary. Jay was concerned about having like sporadic fatal insomnia, which a lot of people have, and I think not so much now. I think most recently he shared that he was very reassured by his sleep doctor. But he has a question for us. Hello, Daniel. I have my sleep study this Sunday. I was wondering, my sleep doctor wants me to take my sleeping pills. He thinks I won't be able to sleep on my own because of the different environment. What's your opinion on this? So firstly, I want to say, anyone out there, you should always talk to your doctor first, of course. That's the most important. But I'll just share my general take on sleeping pills and sleep studies. So you often get a sense that a sleep study is kind of this very comprehensive examination where kind of every aspect of your sleep is studied and every little thing plays a role and is a clue to what's going on with your sleep. In reality, the way I see it, sleep testing is really to check if somebody has sleep apnea or not. And I say that because yes, you check like chin tone EMG and like extraocular leads, check your eye movements, and REM sleep and slow wave sleep and all these things. Like you get a lot of information, but the only information that really leads to somewhere is whether a person has sleep apnea or not. That's what you're looking to find. Yes, you can find if somebody has leg movements in sleep, but that a bed partner can tell, or like you don't need a sleep study to tell that, in my opinion. You can find that out clinically just by talking to getting a good history. So really for me it's about sleep apnea. So that said, I want to say that the airway, how we breathe, is not really affected that much by sleeping pills. So it's not a problem. When I don't feel it's a problem if somebody takes a sleeping pill when they do their sleep study, because that's what they usually do. And it's better, in my opinion, that you get a couple hours of sleep than not, because what you're looking at, the airway is not going to be affected by that medication. So those are my thoughts on that. Yeah. I hope that helps. That helps, Jay, and stay in touch and let us know how it went and how things progress on from then. And with that said, we have one more email. No, actually, one more message. And this is from Lena, who I believe I answered Monday in Ask Daniel number 17. And she has kind of a follow-up question here, which maybe we've already answered, actually. Maybe we've already answered. Lena, if you kind of like just... if you jumped ahead and kind of found the part where I talked about your question, then do go to the beginning of this episode where we talk a lot about sudden awareness, and there's a great email from Linda there. But that said, let's read this. Hi, Daniel. I was talking about sudden sleep awareness problems that results in instant hyperarousal and anxiety. Your answer made me change my attitude towards it, and I'm trying to not stress about these and kind of let them be. I have a quick follow-up question. I'm thinking about trying CBT, or CBTi, but not sure whether I should or not. Do you think that if I have a very strong sleep drive due to CBT, it'll help me to fall asleep no matter if I'm stressed about sudden sleep awareness or not? Thank you again for your time. Great question, and a tricky question to answer, but I want to say this. That if someone, Lena, if in your case, the only thing that really has been bothering you is this kind of sudden awareness, I don't really see any reason for doing like CBTi. Meaning, and when we talk about like CBTi, we kind of talking about, I understand from Lena's question here that we're kind of talking about, should Lena spend less time in bed? Should she do the bedtime restriction? Should she spend, let's say, 6 hours in bed to build a strong sleep drive, so she does not have this sudden awareness of falling asleep again? And I think if the only problem here is the sudden awareness or hypnic awareness, the answer is no. I don't think that's the right way to go, because this the sudden awareness, like insomnia itself, feeds off attention. I'm super mindful now of what word I'm using, not to confuse anybody, but I feel like I can't help but say that, and I think this is true, that they feed off attention, meaning the more things you do not to have the sudden awareness, the more likely you are to have them. And if you're using bedtime restriction, if your aim is to spend less time in bed, to have less of them, even if it is indirectly, you are trying to avoid them. You are trying to do something to not have them. So I believe it would backfire. I believe it would backfire. So I think that if the sudden awareness is all you have, if you don't have general insomnia, then it's better not to do it and do what's so hard to do, nothing. Yeah, Lena, I hope that helped you, and thanks everyone for tuning in. And as always, if you have any questions, leave a comment or send an email, daniel@insomniainsight.co. And with that, we will finish up this episode, and I will be back on Monday. Have a really good weekend. Bye-bye.